Alright, so in this video I'm going to touch on how the gradient text is achieved and the easiest way for you to keep using this effect on new pages that you might make. First off, use gradient text at your own risk. We do set a fallback color, which I'll show you how to do, but it's not quite 100% solid yet. I think it will be at some point. We've already had to change it a couple times to make sure that it works. So I would just say use it cautiously. Definitely something you don't want to overuse. In case if a browser updates or Divi updates and it doesn't support it anymore, or the support changes and they use a new rule or something, you won't have to go through and fix so many pieces. So I'm going to just show you what is going on and kind of explain how we pull this off. So I'm going to go ahead and go to this first deal, 1,000 plus lines of code. Here it is, and all we have here in the back in the advanced is just we're setting the font weight 100. I actually think I don't need this. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. But yeah, that's that. And then we have these couple classes here. We have a gradient text class, and there's a space, which means another class will be added to this. And that's called gradient text blue red, and those are in your style sheet for the theme. You don't have to worry about putting them there, but I'll just kind of show you what those do. Here's the snippets that's actually in your Anthem style sheet. This first one here is just for setting some inline block here. We're setting the line height for all the gradient pieces. So if you need those to be more specific, you can add a class you could add another class to this text module, and then you could further drill in down to change that line height for that particular module if you wanted to. And then we're adding some padding bottom to it, and I'll show you why we're doing that here in a little bit, and why it's necessary. And then basically these first two lines of every combination we have here, they're all the same. They're just clipping the background, or it's setting a background color here, and then we're clipping the background to only show the background that's right underneath the text, and then we're telling the text to be transparent so it shows the clipped background. And as you can see, this text editor that I'm using is called Brackets. If you go to brackets.io, you can download for free, and then you can see how it comes with like a default white color version, but you can have other ones. I'm using a darker one. You can Google or look on here how they do that. But I love this thing so far because one of the features is if you have a gradient and you just hover over it and leave it there, it shows you the color of that particular gradient combination. So here I have the three that we use in Anthem. This first one, as you can see, it's like a blue on the left and red on the right, so I've called it gradient text blue red. This one is red orange, and then this one is purple blue. And at the end here, I'll show you how you can make your own, or you can change the ones that we have, and then that would change if I change this blue red one, these colors, it would change everywhere on the site where I use this blue red. So it's a lot easier to change them when they're in code like this than having to go in to all the modules individually. Okay, so I'm going to right click on this thing, inspect the element, and you can see here's that code. We got the blue and the red there and whatnot. You'll see if I scroll down to our next couple here, and I'm going to go ahead and go down. Let me go ahead and close this out. And actually, I wanted to save that because I was going to get rid of that. Yeah, I was going to get rid of that. See if I need that or not. We'll find that out later too. Okay, here they are. Here's the two. So we got blue and red over there. So same kind of deal. This one there's the gradient. It has some of the animations from another video, but here's the gradient text class. And then the gradient text purple blue. So that's going from purple to blue. This other one's going to be the same, but it's going to be red to orange. So I mentioned that if the browser doesn't support this feature, it's not going to support this, or this. It's showing this gray color, And you're probably wondering, how do I get that gray color? How do you get that gray color is back in the Content tab. I'm just going to close this out. For this block quote here, I'm going to come in, and let's say I have visual mode on here. You'll see that this one, the text is gray where normally it's not. And that's because I've gone in here and I've highlighted the text and I have picked the color from this text color picker. And I've done, instead of picking one here, I've done a custom color with a hex code here. And then I said to OK. And so I'm actually going to copy this text and redo this. So actually I need to copy that color. I'll just go ahead and get rid of the block quote and the span. So there we go. So now we have probably like what you're used to seeing, just some text in the deal. So first step is I'll highlight it and make it a block quote. So we get it to have use the block quote font. And I'm going to go ahead and save and update this. That way you can kind of see me do this as I go along. So let's see here. Come on, refresh. There we go. Okay, so by default, the block quotes are this darker gray color, which looks fine, but it's a little dark for me, and so I want to set the fallback color to a different color. So I'm going to go ahead and go down here. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this and then choose my text color. You'll also notice that when I took away that text color, it doesn't do the gradient anymore. That's because all of these gradients require that span. So and if you're applying the gradient classes back here and you're not seeing the gradient, it's probably because you don't have a span. You don't have a span around the text here. And by selecting the text and choosing a text color here, and I'll just go ahead and put that one back in, that gray color. There we go. By doing that, you do two things. Number one, you're defining a fallback color in case it doesn't work. And number two, it's going to take that fallback color and wrap it in a span and put it in here. And I prefer the order of, block quote, then the span, then the closing span, closing block quote, or H2, then the span, then the closing span, and the closing block quote. So I'm going to go ahead and save this now. Update. And while that's updating, I'm going to see if we need that text align center. No, we didn't. So that's good that we got rid of that. Okay, I'll go ahead and refresh the page now. Alright, so our blue text is back because it has that span now. And if we are in a browser that does not support these, hopefully we'll see this text here. I think the only browser that doesn't support it right now is Internet Explorer 11. But Edge, the latest version of Edge supports it, Chrome, Safari, and Firefox. I'm not sure about Opera. Okay, so I was going to mention the padding bottom. If I turn that padding bottom that's in the code there, if I turn that off, let me go ahead and get this back. You'll see that it cut off the bottom of the P and the G there. And so through trial and error, I've realized that you need this padding bottom. I'll show you one other example of this, where I had to use a padding right or left. And that is here on this one. You'll see that we have this padding left 10. And if I don't have that, it takes it, you don't get the whole A. And I'm not sure if it's because of the font or what, but I had to add that in there. And so I'll show you how I had to add that in there. I had to add it right by the span. And that was the video header. And we'll be wrapping up here right after this. Or I'll show you how to change the color, and then we'll wrap up here. Okay, so here's that call out text, which is this right here. And you'll see it has the gradient text class there, and the gradient text blue-red. And then if you go to the content, on the visual side, you see that I've highlighted it and I've chosen the color, which gave me the span. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this. So it looked like that. And then what you can do is, but when I have it like that, like I showed you, it's not going to have that padding there. So what you can do is you can just add, and usually inline styled like this is bad practice, but I think in this case it works fine. You can add a padding left of 10 pixels here, like that. So you just say padding, you do a new space after the semicolon from the color, and padding dash left colon 10 pixels or whatever you decide, semicolon, and save that, and then update it, and it will update here. We've already done it, or we didn't change anything really, so it's going to look like this. But for some reason, if you went into that text module and you set the text alignment to right instead of left, now you'll see that on the right there it's cutting off my text. So then I would need to go back into that span area we just were, the text widget for this, the content, and where before we had the padding left, you would change that to padding right. I'm going to leave it padding left back here, but I'll show you what up here what padding right will do instead of left. So I'll just change this from left to right, and you can see that it's going to just push this over. And then yeah, there's nothing that says that you have to use alright, that's fine. Yeah, we'll leave that there. On this page, I was just going to right click one of these and just change it from a block quote to like an H2, and you can see how an H2 would look, or an H3. So lots of options there. Alright, lastly, I'm going to show you how we can, let me make sure this is clear. Okay, good. We can change the colors here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new color. First of all, this one's using blue-red, so if I go in here, and if I were to go into the style sheet and change, you'll see that these values match. This 1E, EC, that matches that, and then this F63C there, that matches that one. So if I change these ones and put that in the CSS there, it would overwrite this and give me new colors. But I'm going to make a new one, so I'm going to go ahead and just copy this. And there's a link to this snippet in the video description. You don't need all of this because it's already in your style sheet, but if you wanted to add a new color, then you would need to copy this last one and do what I'm doing here. So we're going to call this one gradient text. How about pink yellow? And then I'm going to use this fancy thing here to quick edit and change this color to pink. And then over here I'm going to quick edit this one, change that one to this yellow color. Great. And then I'm just going to copy this and go over to our Divi theme options. At the bottom of that page is your custom CS area. I'm going to paste that in there, this pink yellow. Save that. And I'm going to go over back to our callout text here. And instead of gradient text blue red, we're going to use pink yellow, which is this guy right here. I'll just copy it and make sure I do it right. Save it. Update. And there we have a pink yellow one. Very summary. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. and turn it back to blue-red. But that gives you an idea. Let me go ahead and save that. That gives you an idea of how to use the text. The easiest way for you to use it would be just to, if you like the block quote text, would be just to right-click, copy, and then paste this module in somewhere else. But in case you want to do it on your own, that is what you would do it how I showed you here. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this now and replace it. And again, I just want to warn you one last time about using it. It can be a great effect, but just be mindful it may change every now and then. And I'm looking forward to when it doesn't. I think we're close. I think we're very close for it to not be changing much anymore. We'll see. Make sure that's back how it was, and then yeah. So that wraps up this video. That's how you use the gradient text feature in Anthem. Alright, we'll see you in the next video.